Greetings. Jesus Christ is the Lord. What a joy it is for us to be with you on Choices. Thanks for allowing us into your space. Now, we want you to stay connected with God, especially in these difficult days in which we are living. We want to challenge you. Pull the family together. Invite a friend. Shout out to your neighbor. Let them know Choices is on, and we trust God that as you stay with us for this program, that your life, we would see or hear about upward mobility. You would not be the same. We are here with the help of God to help you. And so we encourage you, stay with us. God bless you. Enjoy the program. Thanks.
This week we want to continue our discussion that we started some weeks ago that has to do with preparedness. And we reflected on Proverbs chapter 6, how Solomon actually addressed this matter in terms of preparedness. As we're talking about preparedness, we have to consider preparedness for life, which has to take into consideration our future, preparedness for education. How do we intend to move forward in terms of education? Preparedness for relationships. You have to determine how you're going to get connected, who you're going to get connected to. If we talk about preparedness for parenting is another example. If you're going to become a parent, you have to be prepared. You have to have certain prerequisites in order to advance in all these areas of preparedness. And so Solomon addressed this matter and reflected on the ant and the behavior and the actions of the ant. So if we look at the scripture leading up to what Solomon said in verse 6, there is an issue of hard work. He talks about little sleep. There a time will come when you could sleep, but you have to set certain things in train first before you start sleeping, right? Nothing is wrong with sleeping, but you can't be sleeping all the time. So these are some of the prerequisites, hard work. Training. Give yourself over to training, exposed to how you should, conduct yourself, based upon what you want to do. You give yourself over to learning. That's such a powerful thing, when you're given over to learning, because the more you learn, the better will be your position in terms of navigating some of the issues of life, especially those issues that might be very difficult. Collaboration also, and to collaborate requires a level of humility. Some people, they find it difficult to collaborate because collaborate means you have to listen to people. Sometimes you have to go along with their views, their ideas, because the issue is a team. And look how they collaborated, how they worked together. Last week we talked about communication. That's another big one if we're going to be prepared. And so we want to continue these discussions, taking into consideration that we have to be prepared for the future. We have to be prepared for our education, relationships. We threw in parenting and the prerequisites, hard work, humility, training, collaboration, communicating. These are all important prerequisites if one is going to be successful and be prepared as we navigate this life. Gentlemen.
Well, I certainly agree with being prepared for all of those eventualities that you pointed out. I would like to add the need for us to prepare for eternity, because it's not just what we do under the sun. But the time will come when we'll have to give an account above the sun for what we did under the sun. So we need to be prepared for that eventuality also. But in terms of this advice from the wise man, and this print seems small, it says, you've come into the hand of your friend. Go and humble yourself. Plead with your friend. Give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. In order for one to achieve what some of our young people have achieved in this country in terms of exams, they had to give up sleep, right, Joshua, in order for them to attempt 29, 26, 28, and even those who attempted 5 and 7 and 10, as the case might be. You're amongst us, you're the most recent out of that system. What are the challenges? How young people deal with sleeplessness?
Bishop, when you raised the point, it brought back a flood of memories. When I wrote at that time, I think I did 13 subjects, and that was among the top. Then that's over a decade ago. Over a decade ago. And to do that, you had to eliminate every distraction there. No TV, no games as such. You had to be focused. And then you had to balance the requirements of school and lessons. And so once you had a strict regimen, then there was no place for complacency and stuff like that. And so you were moving on limited sleep. I remember there were some periods where if you got 4 and 3 hours of sleep a day, you did well. And back then, Coca-Cola and ginkgo biloba and these things, those were your friends to energize you so you could make it through the day and stuff like that. Those were periods of sacrifice. And I'm thankful to God that in my case and in many cases of my colleagues, the hard work paid off. What encouraged me is that this was just for a season. It wasn't forever. This is not how I had to be forever. I didn't have to not sleep at all for the rest of my life. But if I sacrifice now or then for that brief period, I could enjoy or reap the fruits of the benefit of so many subjects, and that could help to propel me for future studies, for higher income. And above all else, God was glorified, because in everything I do, I want to give God glory now, because He helped. The help of God is also very pivotal to make it true.
Dr. Lee, thank you very much. Dr. Lee, young professionals, in terms of the advice given by this wise man, how should they treat with sleep?
Well, I want to start off by, reminding us of what H.W. Longfellow said. The piece of advice I learned since as a child. The height reached and kept by great men was not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night. It's a deliberate, we talk quite a lot about preparation, but sometimes it is viewed as something that does not require deliberate planning. I was in Georgetown in the city yesterday. School reopens in the new week, and I saw the hustle and bustle to acquire school supplies. What I have found is that just before school reopens, the prices tend to go up. And I have found that it is better at the conclusion of the school year or the school term, if you wish to buy supplies, it is better to buy it then than to wait until school is just about to open. But let me give some advice to young people who study. You need to plan deliberately. Look at what you want to achieve in life, your objectives, your goal, and determine at a very early stage, how are you going to attain those goals? step by step. So for example, the child or the young person who wants to become a pilot, that person has to fall in love with geography, has to fall in love with mathematics, has to fall in love perhaps with integrated science and all of that. And so the steps that are taken must be in line with, must be in tune with, and must lead one progressively towards the attainment of that objective. And so it requires a deliberate effort and planning from the starting point to the end game that you want to achieve.
You know, Dr. Hodgson, you have a unique position in this panel in that your son has just done something that is truly remarkable. And at the same time, can you speak to adults? You can speak to children. You're in this unique position to speak to children, both from a professional standpoint as a parent. And can you speak to adults about the need to be prepared to meet their maker?
Yeah, that's it's so important because you know, at the end of the day, the Apostle Paul was very clear. He said, all the things that I have achieved, you know, I count it as dung when it comes to the Lord, because Paul realized that the ultimate destination is to be with the Lord. And so every human being, every adult should be in a position to really meet the master when that time would have come, by operating and living a life that God expects. Children, for example, you know, that issue is so important also. Solomon mentioned, he said, as portion of scripture we are all familiar with, he said, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest. Let me stop, fold my hands. A little folding of the arms to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. And so it's all about sacrifice. I think Joshua made mention of sacrifice. It's all about making sacrifice and not giving up on any aspect of your life that God really wants. Yeshua, for example, as a student of the Queen's College, Yeshua, at the age of 14, he went into the Form 3, and Yeshua wanted to, well, I wanted him to write mathematics, and I took him to Chase for lessons, and Chase said, Sir Chase said, this man should write 5 subjects. I said, no, let him do the math, because lots of times people are concerned about passing mathematics. So I said, if he had this one thing to focus on, you know, he might be able to be successful. And Sir Chase insisted again. He said, no, 5. He said to me, and that's so powerful as an adult, you know, he said to me, you were seeing this boy as a parent, but I'm seeing this boy as a teacher. I've been teaching children for
Excellent.
years, and I'm seeing him as a teacher, but you're looking at it from the point of view of a parent. But I am telling you that the capacity that I'm seeing here, this boy will be able to write 5. And he said, for all you know, you'll get 5 ones. Now there's another sir named Langhorne. Langhorne is an old radio man. I'm sure you would have known Franklin Langhorne, Bishop.
Yes,
And
yes. Powerful
Franklin
voice.
Franklin was a powerful voice. Franklin, I used to like listening. Franklin was his English teacher. And Franklin said, boy, you're sure? You know you're going to get grade 1, right? I already know that when I look at you and how you're operating. So teachers are able to see things. Good teachers are able to see things in children long before those tenets materialize. And so Yeshua wrote the 5 subjects. He got 4 grade 1s, grade 1 in English, grade 1 in maths, grade 1 in EDPM, grade 1 in PE, and he got a grade 2 in business. But it is interesting that Yeshua was a little different from some of the others, because he was going to 2 schools. He was going to 2 schools. He was going to Queen's College, maintaining a good average in Queen's College in 3rd form, but yet grappling with the fifth form curriculum. And you know what? He did not
Ah.
skip church. He went to 2 services. He came to church at First Assembly in Wortmanville, and he came to church in Parfaith, played the keyboard. Sunday afternoons, from Sunday to Sunday, he is in lessons. Sometimes one time I said, wait, man, this teacher here, he has no, he must got a little God in him. But those guys said Sunday to Sunday. There were times when I went on the seawall, like I was saying earlier, because you don't want to go till back to Providence. And I sat on the seawall, sometimes try to entertain myself by looking at the tide. You know, the little Otis Redding, Dr. Lee, sitting at the dock of the bay.
Wasting
And I'm
time.
looking at the tide and what, and I said, well, now it's time to pick him up and so on. But he had little sleep. I'm telling you, as a parent, sometimes I felt it for him. The times when I even wanted to shed a tear. It became emotional because when I looked at him, he is in the car being taken home and he's sleeping there and so on. But I did not say you will continue to sleep. Take a day from church today and relax. He went through the entire paces and he's made it. And so, the thing is, parents must understand that those children are born gifted and they can make it with the kind of support that they need. And we should not downplay or dismiss our children because of where they are, where they might have grown up, or the community that they're from. But those children could excel, and teachers could do a marvelous job in the transformation process, as Sir Chase would have done. So he has matriculated at the age of 14. He wrote the exam. He has matriculated high school. So as it is now, he doesn't even need to go back to high school. But we'll see how that works out.
Dr. Lee, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. As a former teacher, lots of folks don't really know this, but as a former school teacher, you have any advice? And as a senior military officer, do you have any advice to parents about their children and sleep and hard work and everything like that?
Certainly, Bishop, and I want to endorse everything that Dr. Hudson says. Teachers see what parents sometimes miss. And given the fact that God has blessed us with 2 children, I went to every PTA meeting once I was around, and I spoke, I spoke ever so often with my children teachers, and they showed me some things about those 2 children that we missed. And, yesterday, the 20th was the death anniversary of my father, who was a headmaster. And I remember at UC Koreana wasn't present at the funeral, but he wrote a few lines. And this is what he said. He said, even if your child has fallen through the crack, Hector Lee was certain to find that child and lift him or her out of the crack. And so the point is that not only teachers play a significant role, but as parents, we must instill in our children the fact that they need to sacrifice. We term it, deferred gratification. You cannot want to have or to pursue goals and objectives, and you're mixing with so many things. There's a time for the television. There's a time for your iPhone. There's a time for listening to music. So if you can determine, and parents must play a significant role in working with their children, spending time with them. What about visiting the library with them and encouraging them towards achieving, providing resources, making sacrifice? Sometimes as a parent, you may want something fanciful, but the child needs to have a book. The child needs to perhaps have an iPad, a computer. You make sacrifices. So the sacrifice is not only on the part of the children, but as parents, we must understand and help them. And you know what I told my children about sleep? I said, you can defer sleep. You can store it up. And like your ATM card, when you finish exam, you push that card in and you withdraw and you sleep all day. That has been my advice. But you have achieved your objective. Talk to sleep and say, sleep, relax yourself and wait. When I'm finished, then I'll have all.
You know, I would just quickly like to add that as we're talking, this thought came to mind. Sleeping does not necessarily confine itself to a bed and your eyes are closed. People could be sleeping and their eyes are wide open. You know, the issue, for example, of as a young person, you spend most of your life in a club. You end up on a dance floor and you open up yourself and you're doing these things. Those things are not adding value to your life. You're asleep. And so it's not just a question of your eyes closed. You could, your eyes are open wide,
Well
but you're
said.
sleeping by the very course of your actions. You are sleeping because you're engaging in activities that are non-productive and non-progressive.
Excellent, excellent observation. Reverend Randolph, you are the most senior grandparent on this program. You know, there are two others, but we defer to you. What would you say as a grandfather to your grandchildren, sir? What would you say to the nation's children as a grandfather?
You know, one of the things that one of the words that I love is sacrifice. You know, and I said to them, the sacrifice you're making now, you will enjoy in the future. You don't have to make this sacrifice, losing all those sleep, staying away from TV, staying away from X, Y, and Z. No, you don't have to make it all the time. There's a time, as Solomon said, for everything. A time for you to study, a time for you to relax. But you know what I love is that at the end, of those sacrifices that you make, you enjoy it. You sit down as a grandfather, as a great grandfather. I look at my children, I look at my grandchildren, and I am pleased because once you take advice and you take the right advice, you're going to be successful. As I said, I'm going to repeat myself again. There's a time for everything. This is your time. The best time in anybody's life is in school. That is the best time you could enjoy. You only have it for a period of time, and then when that is finished, you're now prepared for life. And so, parents, don't be harsh on your children. Encourage them. Stay with them. Sometimes they need attention. Sometimes they need a little word of encouragement, a little word of advice. And we want to encourage you, parents. Stay with them. Please remember, they are your children.
Well,
My
you know, thank you. Thank you very much, Grandpa, because you can repeat yourselves, and it's okay when you become a grandparent, we can repeat ourselves. And the educators among us will tell you repetition is a very important principle of learning. And so you've done well. You know,
Also, there's a saying, repetition is elasticity. It lasts.
thank you very much, sir. Joshua, they're young people. I mean, the intervention of Dr. Hudson was amazing just now when he alluded to the fact that there are many young persons or persons who are asleep with their eyes wide open. The young people who are pressured by the culture of today, and they feel compelled that they have to party hard, they have to drink hard, they have to stay out. They forget every other thing and do those things hard. They have to experiment with things like the newest of drinks, the newest of drugs. They have to experiment. You are a young man, a handsome young man, I must say. Speak to your colleagues.
I'm reminded of the words of my insurance supervisor. He would often say, you can pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later. And as a young person, we must be guided by wisdom. We must learn from those who've gone before us and understand that opportunities will not always come around. CXC is not something you want to be writing every year of your life at every stage. But while you're at this stage, it is important to give it your best shot, to make the sacrifice, to pay the price, pay that price now so that you can play later. And there's so many distractions out there, gentlemen, so many distractions. I believe now it's even more accessible through the internet than it was when at our time when the internet was not so accessible. But it's important also for there to be a support system. It's important. I like the reference, the information shared by Dr. Hudson, where Yeshua did not miss church. I remember in my own life, during an exam season, I decided instead of going to church, I was going to study or go to lessons. I did not do well during that period, so I cut out that nonsense right away. And I returned to church that next season, and the results were like night and day. All right? As young people, we need to understand that the trends and the popularity and the hype, it will fade. It will fade. But you know what won't fade? Or what would remain? Your qualifications, your educational results, what you've done in this season, and how it will set you up for the season to come. Pay now and play later, or play now, but you will pay later.
The name of this program is Choices, and that's what we've been talking about. You and I have the luxury of making choices now. There are consequences that will follow. We really want to commend all those young scholars. Some of you didn't get the support from your family, but you believed in yourself and you worked hard. Congratulations. And to those of you who have your life, everything is right before you, we want to encourage you. Be careful how you invest your life, what you do with your body, publicly, private, whatever. Be careful. Remember, all of us will stand before the bar of the Creator one day and have to give account. This is Choices. We'll see you next week, God willing. Bye.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.